And we have some special guests up from the Tucson sector from the United States Border Patrol, agents Paco and Sullivan. Guys, happy Easter. Thanks for coming up.
Long drive. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep, long drive here.
We appreciate it.
Let me set the table for you. We've been working with the Border Patrol on some sportsman issues. We've been doing a little bit of discovery. We've got about 30,000 square miles in southern Arizona, depending on how you measure it. It's all at risk. We've got 27 hunt units below the demarcation DHS line that says if you go beyond this line, it may affect the quality of your outing. Here's the issue that we're looking at, trying to discover for the sportsman. We've got the Border Patrol down there. And how many agents do we have down in the Tucson sector?
We have about 3,700 agents.
Wow.
And they patrol from the Yuma County line in the Tucson sector and then all the way down to the New Mexico state line.
Nice.
We have about 8 stations, starting in the Ajo Border Patrol station where we went a couple of weeks ago.
I have to tell you, I've seen a lot of federal facilities. That is an awesome place down there.
That was awesome.
And then we have the Casa Grande Border Patrol Station just to the east here, outside of Casa Grande. And then we have you go down to Tucson. Tucson has a substation in 3 points. Then we have the Nogales Border Patrol Station down at the border on near State Route 19. And then we have, to the east, we have the Easton Station, Sonoita. We have one in Wilcox, Douglas, and the Brian A. Terry Station.
Wow. Busy bunch of fellas down there.
3,700, really.
3,700 agents. Yep.
What do you got, about 200 horses? How many canines?
We have so our horse program is pretty big. Every station has a horse patrol unit. As far as the specific numbers, I don't have them broken down, but we have.
I've been doing some checking on you, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Good to keep me on check.
And by the way, you did a good job on the Sean Hannity program.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah, look how about fell off the couch. Oh, look, there's Paco.
Yeah. We took him out. When was it? About 2 months ago, we took him out, and we seized 400 pounds of narcotics while they were out with us.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So 400 pounds are off the street.
Well, you guys are doing a hell of a job. But, one of the things we're looking at from a sportsman issue, we've got an awful lot of big game tags and hunting and quail opportunities down south. And you guys have guns. We have guns. Sometimes we don't know who you are. Most of the time, you don't know who we are. I mean, we're camming up. We've got backpacks. We've got firearms. And
especially when they creep in the middle of the night, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. It's part and parcel of our discovery. We had Mike Valdez was down south of Sierra Vista. He saw you guys chasing some bad guys earlier in the day. They were camped. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but I had a small camp tent set up. In the middle of the night, they hear pitter-patter of little combat boots, and it was you guys chasing the bad guys. And they didn't come in and go, hey, it's the Border Patrol. I mean, there was lock, load, and flashlights, and you guys had guns. They had guns, and it was pretty dicey for
and that's no criticism against you guys.
A few minutes. Well, yeah, hey, it is what it is, and my goal is to educate the sporting community on the protocol of how do we behave when we see you,
right?
How do we behave, and what's the protocol when we encounter illegals, whether they be cartel traffickers or human traffickers. Sometimes, as far as I'm concerned, as I explained to you with the way I roll, everybody's got a gun until proven otherwise, and I usually have one. Mm-hmm. So it's
Well, the areas where we patrol are very dynamic environments. We could be in what it feels like a remote location, but we have technology out there that allows our agents to monitor who's out there. In some circumstances, the drug smuggling routes can be monitored on occasion by agents, and I've encountered people that are out there camping out, in the Charlie Bell area, in the Cabeza Prieta. Well, one of the things that we want to let the public know is not to interact.
They didn't.
Yeah. So one of the things we want them to be good witnesses, and if it's an area where they have access to making a phone call, having cell phone signal, or if they, some people that go out there that I've encountered, they set up a command post where, people go out and somebody stays back just for emergencies and they communicate via radio. So whoever can relay a message to our border patrol stations down there, if it's an emergency, always call 911. That's the number one thing we want them to do. Also, 911 would allow us to route that phone call. If it's here in Arizona, we have whenever somebody calls 911 in the middle of the desert and it's determined that it's a border patrol related action, then we will dispatch agents to that location to investigate. And then we can also triangulate phone calls based on, where the call is originating. Cell towers, exactly. So the number one thing we want people to do is call 911. We also have, depending on where they're going, they can call the border patrol stations. You can do a Google search and see what areas you're going to, and then you can look at, the nearest station. Our Tucson Sector Public Affairs Office phone number is always a good line, where you can call in. We have a 24-hour duty phone. It's 520-748-3210.
Write that one down, boys.
And then we also have, we have a campaign. DHS has a campaign. It's called "If You See Something, Say Something," and through that campaign, you can call 1-877 USBP help, and
1-877
USBP help. And then we take calls from concerned citizens all the time, and sometimes those lead to apprehensions and seizures. So we want to depend on the public, particularly if people that are hunting, they're out there for days and they notice something. We want to have that information. Criminal activity affects everyone, not just border communities. It affects the whole country.
Sure.
It also affects wildlife. We've seen it where there are some water catches where wildlife, are present, and through information sharing with Arizona Fish and Game, or we have, like down at the Ajo station, we have areas where they're areas of interest, and they come up through their game can monitoring wildlife. They can come up with traffic activity. They forward that information to us, and we see, sometimes we see wildlife drinking water where smugglers are dipping in, to fill out their water bottles. Yeah. So, what does that create? That creates a problem for wildlife, because wherever there's, a human presence, they tend to stay away.
Sure.
Exactly.
If you push something away from a water hole, it's going to take a while. And if you camp at the water hole, it's going to be a while before they come back.
Exactly.
So currently we are working with the guys at Arizona Game and Fish. We've got an awful lot of mined information that they've accumulated from 2010 to current day. We'll be running south of Sierra Vista with the area supervisor April 27th. I believe the days we're going to be down there. We're going to do a day and a night with them. Mm-hmm. I want to go over to Agent Sullivan. You're a special breed of cat. First of all, you're hanging out with Paco. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Did you get extra pay for that?
I should,
well,
but I don't.
Yeah. That'll look good on Twitter. We'll put a tweet out there for you. You're an EMT, and what else do you do for these guys?
For the Border Patrol, I'm also like a training safety officer and a range safety officer. So I'll help conduct qualifications. Every Border Patrol agent is required to qualify in the range with their firearms, their duty firearms, 4 times a year. I can assist with those qualifications. And as far as like the training aspect goes, we want to maintain adequate training for the job we do. The criminal element is there. The criminal element is dangerous. So by training, in different tactics, whether it be TATP, which is our Tactical Awareness Training Program, or Active Shooter, we can help the community. You know what I mean? Active Shooter Program, that's kind of, big kind of these days. So our agents go through, an intensive Active Shooter Program. We invite other agencies to participate as well. And so far, we got the Eastern Corridor Active Shooter Program up and running, which is training agents, from the Douglas Station, from the Brian A. Terry Station, from the Sonoyta Station, and the Wilcox Station.
Then you're out of Wilcox?
I am out of Wilcox, sir. Yes, sir. And so those are some of the things, and also being an EMT is kind of a big role for us in the Border Patrol. We currently have approximately 218 EMTs within the Tucson sector, approximately 25 paramedics as well.
Wow.
And that's some of the things that helps the community. Because one, if you're out there in the remote desert, we're going to be out there. That's where we work. That's where we operate. So to be able to have medical care ready in the desert for you is a big plus. And that's one of the things we promote. Every agent is a first responder. Every agent is trained on an individual first aid kit, which they're trained to assess injuries, stop massive bleedings, utilize a tourniquet, utilize chest seals, stuff like this. And this is stuff that, has helped, people that agents come across in the past. So.
I had to change my thought process on quite a number of things. We've got the humanitarian side of the people trying to come to the U.S., and I get that. The cartel, basically there's zero tolerance there and little tolerance for the other side. These guys are breaking the law. But I have to tell I told Agent Paco this. I was quite taken by the humanitarian care that was given to the smugglers that we were involved in. I think there was 8 guys there, about 500 pounds of contraband. But the level of concern for these guys,
Right.
Absolutely.
they had them take off their sock, check for blisters and gave them water and some snacks and, tended to any issues that they had waiting for the transport before they took them down to the Ajo station. So I've got a whole new respect for you guys. You guys are first-line defenders, first of all, first responders. Well, you guys pretty much are running by yourself, running solo for the most part. Is that correct?
For the most part, yeah. So when we encounter...
Is that because you don't want to ride with him?
No, but when do we encounter, activity is it's one of the things that we do is we're often working by ourselves.
According to Jeff Sessions, did you interact with the Attorney General when he came down this week?
Agent Sullivan was privileged to be.
I was in his motorcade when he was down here visiting.
So it's one of those things where as agents sometimes we have gone through different administrations. We're an agency that's been there for 90 years. Administrations come and go, but the Border Patrol agent would always be there protecting our borders.
Yeah, your rules of engagement have a tendency to change with different administrations.
But one of the things, regardless of who they are, we'll continue to do our job.
Sessions said, just a blanket statement, that apprehensions are down 70%. Is that a true statement?
In the Tucson sector, so that's probably a nationwide statistics. What I can speak on behalf of the Tucson sector. And I can tell you that our immigration numbers, our apprehension numbers are down about 20%. Our drug seizure numbers are down 40%. But our numbers have been in a decline since 2013. Immigration numbers and our apprehension numbers have been down since 2000. They have come down since 2000. We had 600,000 apprehensions. Last year we had 63,000.
Holy cow.
So the numbers are drastically down. They've been on the decline. The drug seizures, from 2000 to 2013, they were up to over 1 million pounds, 1.2, I think, 1.2 million pounds of narcotics seized, mostly marijuana. So, but since 2013, our marijuana seizures are starting to go down too. So, for 2 years, we attribute our success of making Arizona an undesirable place for smugglers to operate. And how do we do that? So we do that by having a better infrastructure, better fencing, better roads to patrol on. Also, the addition of the latest technology available to our agents, surveillance capabilities that we have, whether they're mobile or they're permanent fixture. And then the other thing is the agent himself. We had an increase in Border Patrol agents in the Tucson sector. We went from 1,500 to 3,700. And
Right,
at one point,
right.
we were over 4,000 here in the Tucson sector. So then combine those three things with the consequence to those involved in illegal activity, targeting the criminal organizations and identifying who's doing what and how they're doing it, and then develop an action plan. So having a consequence and then gathering intelligence, whether that is through custodial interviews on the individuals that we apprehend, whether that is to surveillance technology. That could be from a variety of tools that I can't get into details with, but having that information and then having the integration, having the information, then integrating that information, because, I go back again
the cross-border illegal activity is not just a border patrol's problem. It's everyone and all the communities around
Exactly.
along the border and as a whole as a country also. So then sharing that information with different agencies and having a whole government approach where the sharing of information between agencies, having that dialogue and communication, and then thirdly having a rapid response to that information. So we attribute our success to that. Obviously, this past 3-4 months, we've seen a drastic decrease. I'm sorry, on entries and apprehensions, and as the Tucson sector is concerned, that's how we attribute our success.
That's pretty amazing. Back on the wildlife front, how much poaching do you guys?
That is not
observe?
something that we do observe, but I can speak from experience patrolling down at the Ajo Border Patrol Station, and I don't know how it's in Wilcox and other places, but
Wilcox was pretty well shot out. It has been for years.
And one of the things that we do see is that we have a dialogue with the different government agencies who are in charge of gaming. Whether that is through the Fish and Wildlife in Arizona
Sure.
and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they provide with us with training. They give us a calendar of the hunting, and they give us training on what to look for. So when an individual is out there and he's saying oh, I'm out here, and then we go and see who that is and what's he doing in the middle of nowhere, and then we look at our hunting schedule and it doesn't jive with the season, and he's making certain claims, then at that time we can refer that information. We have a liaison team that can refer their information to investigate through the proper channels, and we refer that information to individuals. I have not personally seen anything like that, but it's something that we do encounter, and I mean our job is to secure the border. Number one.
And what's happening on the RIP cruise? Nobody wants to talk about it. They started talking about RIP cruise in about 2010 through 16 is the last piece I could find on it. Describe the RIP cruise and what's going on.
Well, the transnational criminal organizations that we have out here, sometimes transportation cells go against each other. One of the things that we encountered out in the field is we encounter individuals who want to steal the narcotics load from each other. They've already backpacked it all the way from the border out to I-8 or I-10, whatever that might be, and they're trying to steal each other's loads. That is a very dangerous situation.
Are these RIP crew guys, are they non-affiliates with the cartel, generally speaking?
It could be, individuals who have previously deliver narcotics and they know the route, so it could be
rival
cartels, or it could be just a group of gang members out of Phoenix that knows where.
In the Coast Guard, we call them pirates.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a good analogy, but they're one of the most dangerous individuals that we encounter in the field. We also have another threat. It's called the scouts. The scouts are individuals on mountaintops. When we went out, remember, we saw them on the Mexican side of the border.
Yeah. By the way, I did order up some body armor with Cat's help.
So the challenges that we encounter with these individuals is that, more often they're out on a mountaintop and they're monitoring law enforcement activity, and the Tucson sector here. In Arizona, we encounter them, and we made, for the first time in U.S. Border Patrol history, we were able to successfully prosecute a scout. That is charging somebody with conspiracy to smuggle contraband, because their intentions is not to come across the border illegally and come and work and as an immigrant, as an illegal immigrant. Their intentions is to monitor what we're doing and relay that information to the individuals on the ground who are trying to elude our detection.
What I've seen over the years, JK, we've got an awful lot of activity in the Tono Odom. Any thoughts on that?
From all the people that I talk to who have regularly hunted on their border of the reservation, there have been some allegations that there are people who are assisting, and that's not labeling the reservation as a whole, but that certainly individuals within that environment are assisting by packing, making sure that food and supplies are available for the traffickers so that they don't have to go in and out of towns to get that type of stuff. Are you seeing any of what you would consider that type of a support system? I think that's the easiest way to put it.
Well, unfortunately, many communities along the border fall victim to joining this criminal organization. So I don't want to talk specifically to a specific demographic, but what I can tell you is that smugglers exploit those who live in
The border
those
towns.
communities. And one of the things that they do is they'll use aggressive recruiting tactics.
Blackmail.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, because they'll move on to the next individual. They don't have to stick around with someone. One of the things that we're doing as an agency to combat that is we're trying to engage kids at an early age through our border community liaison program. We're going out to the high schools. We're going out to the community events, the parades. We're showing a presence to let them know, don't give in to the criminal element. We have a presentation called Operation Detour, where we talk to these kids at an early age. We try to beat the criminal element from recruiting these individuals.
And I understand that. I mean, that's a moral high ground, and it's also it's quote the right thing to do.
Right.
But when they're being offered significant amounts of money in a poor economic situation, I understand that kind of allure that happens. And then once you're sucked into it, you're sucked. I mean, you're
So one of the things that we do know is that there is no way out. Once you say yes.
Yeah, you're in
Say
forever.
no, moving forward. Another thing that I tell, when I go and talk to these kids and to those who become victim to that is don't socialize yourself with individuals who are involved in a criminal element. Unfortunately, social media and current trends, glorify the illegal activity. You see it on the shows on Netflix. They have these narco shows and things like that, and they glorify the criminal element. So a lot of people are attracted to the quick, easy cash and things like that. So it's a challenge for us. It's a challenge that we understand, and it's a challenge that we're addressing.
On the other side of the border, is there any effort from the Mexican government to work with the population to
We have
deter?
we have a unit called the International Liaison Unit, and then we have a Foreign Operations Branch. So, there's only so many things that we can do, and I'll put it in layman's terms. One of the things that we have is think of the game of football, right? You have the border being the line of scrimmage. You have linebackers. You have linemen. You have safeties and all of that. So think of that on the defensive side. That's the United States Border Patrol. Whenever we can sack the quarterback in Mexico, making the analogy, going after, transnational criminal organizations that are operating in Mexico, we take that shot. If we can share a piece of information, obviously after it's cleaned up from any national security and sensitive information, and if we can relay that information to the government in Mexico for action, it's beneficial to your agency, because as an agency, we can't patrol in Mexico.
I've had some opportunities since we ran with you guys to talk to the Auto Theft Recovery Task Force. We've been having discussions about Rip Crew and cartel guys stealing hunters' vehicles from Sportsman's Warehouse, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, these kind of things. I mean, we're talking about vehicles that are off-road tires, suspensions, stuff.
Right.
Odds are they're going to have a gun behind the seat.
Right. That's one of most of the vehicles that we do encounter that are used for illegal activity are stolen vehicles. One of the things that we have at some of our checkpoints, we have license plate readers. These license plate readers, if there's a car going through one of our checkpoints traveling on the opposite side or both sides of the border, you might see some of these cameras out there. And
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
those cameras are reading those license plates, and if we determine that is a stolen vehicle, we'll call the locals, or if it's something that we can assist with and interdict, we'll do that. Those license plate readers are a great tool to have at our checkpoints, because it allows the agent to it's just another tool given to him.
Yeah, I think that certainly for seasonal as we're going into the deer draw.
Oh, yeah.
Coming in June. People need to know. I mean, I know a lot of people who avoid just going south of Phoenix because of the issues that they've heard about, read about, seen, and it's the United States. This is Arizona. It's our state. We should be able to go out and recreate. Period. End of story. However, you need to do so smartly. You don't want to do something stupid. And if you feel that that's an area you want to hunt, you're going to need to take care of certain precautions. One of which is we exposed to everybody today is contact the Border Patrol. Let them know where you're going to be. If you're going to be particularly close, or if you're going to be in an area that has the signage, let them know what you're doing. Take care of yourself. Make sure there's somebody watching the camp during the day, and you're fine. It certainly makes me feel a little bit better knowing that there's 3,700 of you guys out there somewhere along the line doing something. So I appreciate it for that effort.